Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today going through my FA Cup preview for what I think is going to happen and what I think will happen, and just all the talk to do with the FA Cup coming up this weekend. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock it's going to be an exciting one. We're going to go through a bit of everything really. We're going to talk about the head-to-head record. I'm going to show you how both teams got to the final. I'm going to go through who I think is going to win it at the end of it. Starting with the head-to-head record, I don't have the visual for you, but the last games, the last few games have been won by City. They obviously won last year's FA Cup final 2-1 with Gundogan getting both of them goals, but Gundogan's not here this year. So who's going to do it? Well, we'll get onto that in a second on who can do it for City. Because United haven't managed to get a result against them for a while now. Since last season, we got a result at home, 2-1. Rashford scored a few goals still in the games that we've had since. Martial's given a bit of terrorism in there, but obviously Martial won't be playing. So let's move on to City and how City got to the final. So we get a league position, which we know they've won it. We know City won the league. Their league record, only losing 3 times this season, which actually surprised me when I was looking at it. I felt like they lost more, but no, you can see why they won the league, only losing 3 times. 28 wins, 7 draws, 3 losses. An incredible season from them, to be fair, and won the league because of it. The key players that are going to be playing a big part in this final are De Bruyne, Foden, Rodri and Bernardo Silva. We know the Pep team, the midfield is where the battle is won. We know the defence can be a bit shaky sometimes. We know the defence can be vulnerable sometimes. They've turned it around at the end of the season, started playing really well at the end of the season, but we know that defence can be vulnerable. And we know Haaland can have a few stinky games. So the midfield is where City are going to win this game. If they do go and win it, it will be one of the midfielders that has shown in the game. And in the total season record, they've played altogether there 58 times this season. That is a lot of games to be playing. That's a lot of games to be played in a season, and they've only lost 4 of them. Obviously drawing twice to Real Madrid, which knocked them out of the Champions League, and losing in the Carabao Cup to Newcastle. The other 3 league losses were to Arsenal, Aston Villa, and was it Liverpool that beat them? I think. It's hard to remember. It's hard to cast my mind back. I know Arsenal and Villa are 2 of them losses. Their road to the final, you can see, beating Huddersfield 5-0 with Foden, Alvarez and Doku being involved in the goals. 1-0 against Tottenham with Ake getting the goal. 6-2 against Luton with Haaland getting 5 and Kovacic getting 1. 2-0 against Newcastle, Silva getting the goals, and 1-0 against Chelsea, Silva getting the goals. So Haaland has actually got the most goals to them in this FA Cup campaign so far yet, but there's only against one team. The 3 games that he got there were tough games against Spurs, Newcastle and Chelsea. Haaland didn't really show himself. It was the midfield that won them the games. As I said, the tough games is where the midfield wins it. That Spurs game was down to pure tactical advantage on the corners. Poor from Tottenham, but here we are, they're in the final because of the likes of Bernardo Silva dragging them along into the final. Onto United and how they have done this season, which I all know all too well about. League position, the league record, the key player to season record. I'm going for it now. We finished 8th, equals no European football through the league. Obviously can still win the FA Cup and get Europa League through that, so let's keep the fingers crossed. I said I don't want Europa Conference League, and we're not going to get Europa Conference League. We're going to get Europa League or nothing, which is a fair way to go, I guess. Losing 14 times this season, the most we've ever lost in a season. 18 wins, 6 draws. We've got 10 less wins than Manchester City. 10 less wins than Manchester City, and 11 more losses. 11 more losses is the big one there, though, isn't it? We need to really turn that around next season. Our key players are Bruno, Dalot, Mainu, Garnacho and Onana. You see it's a bit all over the place, but it's kind of structured to who's going to be our key players in this game. Onana has been, a massive improvement towards the end of the season here. Garnacho, we know what he can do at times. Mainu, we know what he can do with Bruno in that midfield, and Dalot's been the player of the year, so I obviously had to talk about him. Our player of the year, that is. I also had to talk about him being one of our key players. And our season record, we've played a lot less than City, but we've lost 19, which is 15 more than City have lost despite playing more games, with 8 draws and only 24 wins, which is a bit stinker. It is a bit stinker. I mean, actually looking at it, we've only played 7 games less than City. What's it? 7 games in it less than City that we've played, and the results just haven't been good enough for us. You know, mainly that league does not do as well right now. It really doesn't. And one of them draws being in the Carabao Cup, not Carabao, the FA Cup, and the other one being in the Champions League. Road to the final. We beat Wigan 2-0 with Dalot and Bruno getting the goals, 2 people that I mentioned already. Bruno scoring against Newport. Mainu, Anthony and Højlund all get involved in the goals as well. Casemiro scoring an only goal against Forest late on. McTominay, Anthony, Rashford and Diallo scoring against Liverpool in what a game that was. Anthony being involved in 2 goals so far. Diallo scoring one of the most important goals on this campaign. McTominay, Maguire and Bruno getting the goals against Coventry. So as you can see, Bruno is our top goal scorer in this FA Cup run. The goals are coming from here, there and everywhere. You know, McTominay's got 2, Anthony's got 2, Maguire's got 1, Rashford's got 1, Dallow's got 1, Diallo's got 1, Casemiro's got 1, and Mainu's got 1, and Højlund's got 1. You know, so it's a bit of an even spread for who's going to get the goal for us in these games, which is, you know, it's how we want it to be. We want everyone to be able to score a goal, and it gives me a positive look into the final, I guess. Looking at how the teams line up, I'm going to get the teams onto the page here. City being the blue triangles that we used for Atalanta in my European thing, and now Europa League review that is, and United being these maroon circles for what I used in to be Leverkusen. But this is how the team's going to be lining up, most likely with it being obviously Ortega in goal for City, a back four probably Gvardiol, Ake, we'll probably see Diaz here, and either Walker or a Kanji here, probably a Kanji for the strength of the back four, and then having Rodri as a sole pivot with Kovacic and De Bruyne sitting just further ahead of him, Foden out on the left, potentially Bernardo Silva on the right is most likely I think it would be, and then Haaland sitting up front on his own up front, with plenty of rotation being allowed in that City team. With, oh my god, what's happened to my camera? Sorry guys, never happened before. Onana in net for United, obviously in front of him. God knows who's going to be in centre back because it might have injured bad. Hopefully it's Lisandro Martinez and maybe Maguire. I'm not too sure on who's going to be starting there with all the injuries that we've had this season. Dalot and Wan-Bissaka will be our fullbacks. Probably see Casemiro potentially in the midfield alongside Mainu. Could see McTominay in there. Bruno going to be the creator in the team. Could see more of like a Casemiro here and then Mainu getting further up, which would be nicer. But I would actually just prefer being able to sit back, play man on man with Bruno here, and then it leaves the front three a bit, you know, out of it, but it keeps this team well balanced and controlled in the midfield where we potentially could lose the game. And then up front we're going to see Højlund probably with, I don't even know, Garnacho and Diallo on the wings potentially. We could even see it be Garnacho and Anthony, but a lot of people will want Amad to start. But with Anthony, you know, I think Diallo's better off the bench, and Anthony starting the game, being able to defend wise, I don't know, because it'd be also good for when we need to control the midfield. Anthony does get back, Diallo gets back, and it just leaves Haaland up front on his own, which I'm fine with leaving Haaland up on his front of his own. In terms of how to deal with the City threats, I feel, you know, the way I was talking about Haaland, sorry, I'm here, there and everywhere right now. Haaland. Haaland plays best when there's someone trying to focus on him too much. If you kind of give him the space, it's about stopping the pass rather than stopping the player. You want to stop the pass from getting to him, because if you try and stop the player, eventually the pass is going to get to him. But if you stop the pass, then, you know, you have a better chance, especially if Wan-Bissaka doubling up on Foden over there, doubling up on Bernardo Silva over here, and then it leaves De Bruyne and Kovacic in the midfield, which, you know, they're both very good passers, but Casemiro, Mainu and Bruno can deal with that. With Anthony coming in and Amad Diallo coming in, you know, Rodri might get space, but then, you know, Bruno can push up to there, and, you know, it forces the chance to stop itself, and we can get one the counter attack. And with the likes of Amad and Garnacho and Bruno to make the pass, or Mainu to make the pass into Højlund, knock it down to one of these, and the chances will come, and they will come quick and fast, and it's exactly how Ten Hag wants to play. As you can see, you know that because the most passes to Højlund this season is Onana. hurling up to him so he can nod it down to someone else, like Bruno, who gets here, plays the ball in, over, goal type of thing. That's what is in Ten Hag's mind right now. It's taking a whole season to try and come along, but it's starting to look like it might actually start to be forming right now, which is nice, especially in time for the FA Cup final, which will be a huge one tomorrow. But let's get on to the final page now. The final page is, and the winner is, and guys, I say this on my channel all the time, I'm biased, guys, I can't help it. But that is the end of the video. I'm going to stay biased. I'm not going to say the words myself, but you can see what I think is going to happen on the screen right now. But that is the end of the video now, guys. If you have liked the video, please leave a like. You want to see more, subscribe, because there's more on this channel all the time. Thank you for watching, guys, and hopefully I do see you next time. Cheers.